Welcome to Mimio Training, Quick Learn on Demand, Mimio Interactive Systems, Setup and Overview. In this session, we're going to talk about the Mimio Interactive Systems, both the Mimio XI bar as well as the Mimio Teach. Going to talk about the Mimio Studio software that you will need to utilize those resources. I'm going to refer to the different hardware pieces that you will find in each of the Interactive Systems kits, how to connect your Mimio interactive device, how to power it, how to attach it to your whiteboard, as well as how to start using that in your classroom. So let's get started. So you may have either one of these interactive devices. The white Mimio Teach, you see on the left, is our newest version of the interactive bar. And then you may have the previous version also, which is called the Mimio Interactive XI bar. They both work in much the same way. Just one is an earlier model than the other. So in each of these, I will start first with the Mimio XI, and then we'll progress to the Mimio Teach, just in case you have either one of these. So let's start first and foremost with the software. So Mimio Studio software. You would need Mimio Studio software on your computer in order to utilize the great features of your Mimio interactive bar that you have. So first and foremost, you would either download it from the CD that may have come with that earlier version of the XI, or simply download the version from Mimio.com. The latest version is always available on our website. You can always check what version you have by coming up here to the Help menu, going down to About Mimio Studio, and see what version you have. So the latest version that we're running right now is 11.00. So if you're running an earlier version, definitely you want to upgrade, and it's absolutely free to upgrade to that next version of the software. If you are a Mac user, a little bit different way to check. You'll go to your Notebook menu and check on About Mimio Studio. But again, while you are on the Mimio.com website and you go to Support, you can download a version for Mac, Windows, or Linux, whatever suits your needs. So install that. If you don't have a Mimio product, you're just wanting to test some things out, you can also download the software and evaluate the full version for 30 days. So once again, while you are up in the About Mimio Studio window, you're going to see down here a button for Evaluate. If I hadn't already activated this, I would be given the option to evaluate it, and once I click that, I would then have 30 days to experience the full magic of Mimio Studio. Otherwise, you are using a limited version of the software, which not all features will be available. So just something to consider. Again, you can activate your software once you have a Mimio product. The easiest way to activate your software is to attach any Mimio product to your computer. That will automatically activate your software. The earlier versions of the software and products, you may also have a software activation key. You could utilize that if you have Studio 9 or lower, but I would recommend the easiest way across the board is to attach any Mimio device to your computer. So once again, you can evaluate the software. You can also activate the software if you need to manually by going to the About Mimio Studio menu, which is located under Help. All right, so that's a little bit about the software, which you do need to install that on your computer. It cannot be run on a server. It has to be installed on each individual computer that you use your device with. So make sure you're running the latest software. So let's jump right into the hardware review. Again, I'm going to start first with the Mimio XI. So the XI is the gray bar. What you will find in it is the XI bar itself, which attaches to any flat surface or whiteboard. You're going to see, depending on the version that you have, either the USB kit, which will have a USB cable and a USB module, or you will have a wireless receiver that communicates via wireless frequency to a wireless module, which looks just like this. There's a different one that slides in. You'll also have, with the wireless module, you'll also have an AC adapter and plug that comes with that. You will also find in your box, you'll have two plastic clips with 3M tape strips. These are used to attach this firmly to your whiteboard. We'll talk about more how to connect that here in just a little bit. And you'll also have a stylus pen and a AA battery that goes with that. So that is what you'll find in the XI kit. Now on to the Mimio Teach kit. The Mimio Teach will come with its bar itself. It's magnetically attached. It magnetically attaches to the board. There are rare earth magnets built into the back of the Mimio Teach that allow it to magnetize itself, if you will, to your whiteboard. It will also come with a USB cable. It's a little bit different USB cable. It's a micro USB cable, and that can be used to directly connect it to your computer or connect it via the AC adapter to a power source. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It will also come with 4 metal-backed clips here that will allow you to attach it to your board if your whiteboard isn't steel-backed. Since this is magnetically attached, you'll have an option of using these to magnetically attach it to your board. But if your board has a magnetic back to it or steel back to it, you will not need these clips whatsoever. So lastly, the Mimio Teach itself also does have its own stylus pin. We'll talk more in depth about that in just a second. So let's talk about how to get these both connected. So if you have the Mimio Xi bar, you can connect this either via the USB cable and a USB receiver. Again, this USB receiver that I have circled here, this can be taken off and replaced with a wireless receiver if you would upgrade or if you have the wireless upgrade kit. So there's a little button on the very back of the Mimio Xi bar. You would depress that, and this whole thing would then slide out, and then you would take the wireless kit and slide it in and pop it into place. So either one of these methods will connect it. Obviously, if you have the USB cable, you will plug in the USB cable to the very bottom. You'll see a USB port on the very bottom of that Mimio Xi bar, and then the other end would run to your computer, and that not only powers the Xi bar, but also connects it to your computer. If you have the wireless receiver, you are going to insert the wireless module here, and you will know which one you have because they're clearly labeled. If we can get a good shot here, the wireless says wireless on it, while the other one says link USB. So you're going to know which one you have. All you have to do is look at the label there. If you do have the wireless module, again, this will pop it into place at the bottom of the Xi bar right there. Then you would plug in the wireless receiver into your computer, and then those simply will communicate with each other, so your computer is able to communicate to the Xi bar using the wireless receiver. So I will mention, let's say that if you've disconnected this over the summer or you've traded things around between other staff, you have everything connected properly and you just can't get it to work. One thing you may want to consider is that you may have to resync the signal between the wireless receiver and the Xi. And how you would do that quickly is, I don't know if I can zoom in on this well enough, but on the wireless receiver, you're going to see a little black button right there. All right? On the Xi bar, you're going to see right beneath the power button, you're going to see a little gray button right there. So if you have everything plugged in, you have some lights on so you know it's getting powered, these simply may need to be resynced. You may have to get the signals fixed up between them. So all you'd have to do with the wireless receiver plugged into your computer, you would gently press down on this little black button for about 5 to 10 seconds. A little light will start to blink, and then you would take a paper clip or a push pin, and then you would push in on this little gray button at the bottom of the Xi bar. And as soon as you do that, you should hear a sound, some sort of tone, and then these will then start talking to each other. So that's all you should have to do, if at all, to get these things to work. So it just gives you an option of what you may have to, if you just how to troubleshoot in the event that you run into any troubles throughout the life of that device. So let's talk about the Mimio Teach. It is just as simple to connect both of these. You just plug and play, and it really is that simple. You will take, depending on how you're powering it, again, if you're using a USB cable to directly connect to your computer, you can do that. We always recommend with the Mimio Teach that you use, even though you can use batteries to power the Mimio Teach, it is recommended that you use the AC adapter and the USB cable. So from the bottom of this, you would take the micro USB cable, you would attach that to the AC adapter and plug that into your wall. That way you never have to worry about batteries. So that would be powering it. And then you would use the Mimio hub. That gets plugged into your computer, and that hub, which is the receiver, if you will, allows you to communicate wirelessly with the Mimio Teach and the stylus pin. So that is a recommended method to use the AC adapter. Of course, you can directly plug in the USB cable to your computer, and if you do that, if you are directly attaching USB cable from the Teach to your computer, then you would not need the Mimio hub. But again, this is designed to be a wireless unit to give you pretty much a cord-free situation, other than maybe the power cord if that's what you choose, and that's what we do recommend. Just like the Mimio Xi, These should be ready to roll right out of the box, but if for some reason things get switched around or you lose a communication for some reason, you may have to resync the signals between the wireless receiver and the Mimio Teach. A little bit different process here. You'll notice at the very bottom of the Mimio Teach, there's going to be a power light. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. That also serves as a status indicator. So what you would do if you have everything connected but you're just not able to get your stylus to work, and you know your stylus is working but you just can't get it to interact with the Mimio Teach, this is what you would probably want to try next, is that you would come over here and you would depress for about 5 to 10 seconds that status light. And when you depress that button for about 10 seconds, that's going to resync a signal between the Mimio Teach and the Mimio Hub. Now when you do that, you may likely see a pop-up balloon on your computer. But more than likely, what you're going to see is you'll need to get that thing, the Mimio Teach, connected back to your computer. So you would go back up to the Help menu. You would come down to About Mimio Studio. You're going to see that it's activated. So what you're going to make sure you do is you're going to come up here now to Tools, and you're going to come down to Settings. So Tools and Settings. So if you know you're activated already, you could skip the Help menu step. So just go directly to Tools and then to Settings. And then the very top option here is Classroom Devices. So ideally what you want to see is that you have a Mimio Hub that's connected and that you have a Mimio Teach that is connected. So if both of those are connected, you should be working like no one's business. It should be all set up. However, if you notice that your Mimio Teach says available, that means you've just resynced it. So what you need to do is make sure that it's selected like I show here, and then the button down here which says connect will be highlighted. It will be able to be selected, and simply press that. And as soon as you click on that button that says connect, you then also will see the status showing connected. So that's all you should have to do if you have to do that at all. So just a little troubleshooting technique. If you can't get the Mimio Teach to work for some reason, if it's been over a summer or something like that, or you've traded some things around with other staff, that may be solving your problem. So that's how you get connected, either the XI or the Mimio Teach. So let's continue on the Mimio Teach. There are some status lights that will indicate what you can do with the device here. So there are 3 conditions of the status lights. Obviously, if it's off, you're not getting power, so you're not going to be doing too much. If it's solid green, that means you're good to go. It's getting power. The software is running. Flashing green means you are getting power, but the software may not be running. So unbeknownst maybe to you, the software runs in the background even when you don't have a window open. So if you're getting a flashing green, just open the software up and minimize it, and then you should be set. If you're getting a solid amber color, if this bottom button is solid amber, that indicates to you that it's searching for a signal. So that is where you would need to resync it by pressing the power button, the status light button, for about the 10 seconds. And then make sure you come up here to Tools and Settings, check on Classroom Devices, and make sure Mimio Teach is connected. Again, if it's not, it will say Available, and then hit Connect. And then you should be perfectly set to go. You will notice that there are 2 buttons on the Mimio Teach. The bottom button is the launch menu. That will bring up a host of other applications built into Mimio Studio that you may be able to shortcut to. The top button allows you to calibrate. So the calibration button will give you a 9-point calibration sequence to make sure you are telling the Mimio Teach where your writing area will be. Let's go back to the XI. The XI will also have some buttons on it. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. The bottom button, I know this isn't a very good image, but the very bottom button on the XI is the calibration button there. So again, by pressing that bottom button, you will be able to go through the 9-point calibration sequence. Now, I will also mention, since we're talking about calibration and getting connected, that you should only have to calibrate once. If you are in a situation where your board does not move, where your Mimio XI or your Mimio Teach does not move, it's affixed to your board, and if you have a projector that does not move. So if all 3 of those are in place, you should not have to calibrate every day, and I'll show you how to make sure you don't. Now, if any one of those 3 do move in a day, you will not want to do the following, because you're going to have to make sure you calibrate your device to make sure it knows where you're going to write. But if everything is fixed, there's an easy trick to a tip here I'm going to leave you with to make sure that you don't have to calibrate every single day. So once again, you will come up here to Tools. You're going to go down to Settings. So Tools and Settings. You're going to go down to the third option, which is Interactive. And what I always recommend to teachers is that you make sure that these top two boxes are check marked. So that means after you calibrate the first time, and as long as nothing moves, you should not have to calibrate again. Now obviously, if you write in an area and it's a little bit off from where you're writing, that's a good sign that you need to calibrate. But otherwise, if nothing moves, I would strongly encourage you to make sure those two are check marked and then hit Apply. Now keep in mind, when you do update the software, these go back to a default setting, which will be not check marked. So you'll need to come back and do that if you update your software. So hit Apply and hit OK, and then you'll calibrate that one time and you should be fine. So a little tip there I'll leave you with about how to finally get connected to both devices. So let's talk about the part of each of these devices that allow you to interact with anything you do on your computer, and that, of course, is the Stylus. So the Mimio Xi Stylus, it is powered by a AA battery. So obviously, one thing to check, if you're not getting your Xi to respond, make sure you can make sure your pin is working. And the easiest way to make sure your pin is working or theoretically working is to push down on the tip of the pin. If you hear a buzzing sound on either pin, that means it is getting power. So it means it's not the battery. So then you could troubleshoot some other things. But definitely the AA battery you'll need to replace depending on how much you use it. It shouldn't be replaced that often, but that's something to consider. It has two buttons that allow you to interact. So the top button, which we call the A button, it's closest to the tip. That, when pressed, will act as a hover, as your mouse does when you use that on your computer. You can use the B button, which is the one closest to the bottom of the pin, and that serves as a right-click button. Over to the Mimio Teach, it also has a couple buttons. Now when you use the Mimio Stylus, the Mimio Teach Stylus, you want to make sure that you hold behind this metal band, because there's signals that come out of the tip, and if your hand blocks those signals, you may have troubles interacting with the board. So make sure you hold that ergonomically behind the silver bar. Again, the tip on this pin, on the Mimio Teach Stylus, that can be pulled out and replaced. One of the things you would have found in your Mimio Teach box is a little plastic pouch of replacement tips. If you need it, if those get worn down from excessive use, you can certainly just pull those out and push a new one in. What's great about the Mimio Teach Stylus is there are no batteries that you ever have to replace. It automatically recharges. When you store the Mimio Teach Stylus on the left side of the Mimio Teach, let me show you where that is here. Let me make sure I have a good picture of that. So right here, in fact, you'll notice on the left side of the Mimio Teach, there's a little area over here. So that stylus pin actually goes right there. And there's some little magnetic clips right here. And when those are touching, the stylus pin will charge. So apologies for my drawing there. But the stylus pin, you'll know it's charging because there's a little indicator light that will turn green. So whenever that's in its docked stage, it should be charging as long as you are being powered by either USB to your computer or USB to your AC adapter. In other words, if you're battery powered, if your Mimio Teach is being powered by batteries, it will not be charging the stylus pin. So that's another benefit of having your Mimio Teach being AC adapter connected and powered. It also has a couple buttons. The front button, which is closest to the tip, serves as a hover. And the bottom button serves as a tool. So again, your tools is this little floating bar right here. So if that gets closed on accident, one way you can get that easily back is by pressing the B button. And those are default settings, and I'll show you how to change those here in just a second. So again, if you want to create a right click using the Mimio Teach Stylus, you can depress the tip while holding down the A button, and that will create a right click situation for you. So while we're talking about changing options, let me show you that real quick. So you can change the options of these buttons to what they do, or totally turn those off. So why would you want to turn those off? Well, depending on the age of your kids in your classroom, their fingers sometimes press these buttons inadvertently, and they cause things to happen. So if you don't want that distraction, if they keep doing that, you can simply disengage them. The same thing goes for the XI pin. So how you would do that is you would come up here to Tools, you would come down here to Settings, and under Interactive, once again, you're going to see under Actions and Commands, you're going to find an action. It says Stylus Tip. You have the A button, you have the B button. I wouldn't mess with the Stylus Tip, but the A button you can select, and then under Function, you can select from a drop-down menu of any variety of options that you want to do. If you don't want it to do anything, because you're tired of your kids pressing that or yourself pressing that accidentally, you can simply come down here to Unassigned and then hit Apply. And then you can do the same thing with the D button. So you can change the default functions, of these at any time you'd like. So the B button, you can choose maybe you want it to be opening the gallery or maybe open up the reveal tool. So you have the option of changing these to fit your needs. At any time, if you want to go back to the default setting, you just have to press Default and hit Apply, and then you'll be back in business. So that is how you can customize those buttons to fit whatever needs you have on the stylus. So from the stylus, let's move on to how we're going to power this. So we've talked briefly about this just a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more in depth. So again, on the XI bar, it depends on which module you have. So if you have the USB module, it's simply going to be powered via the USB cable. It's going to be connected to the computer like we talked earlier. You don't have to worry about any batteries. It gets power simply by the USB cable and your computer. If you have the wireless module, your Mimio Teach, your Mimio XI, I'm sorry, will take 4 AA batteries, or you can use an AC adapter that comes with it. So the AC adapter would plug in right down here at the bottom. Like I mentioned earlier, this whole module, you can click that and remove that. So this whole module right here, there's a button on the back you can depress. You can click and remove that. That whole thing will slide down, and then you can slide the new module right in place if you have the wireless module. So it's really that easy. You have options there. As far as the Mimio Teach goes, the Mimio Teach is powered by the micro USB cable. So again, one end goes to the Mimio Teach, one end goes to your computer, or you can power this using the AC adapter. So you would take the USB cable, plug it into the AC adapter, that goes into your wall outlet, and then the other end of the cord goes into the bottom part of the Teach. So there's 2 options. And then the third option, of course, is powered by 3 AAA batteries, and then you can turn it actually off and on. When you're in battery powered, that button down there will serve as a power on and off button. That's the only time that you can actually press that button and turn it off and turn it on. And it will go into a sleep mode after about 30 minutes of not being used to save the battery, but you have that option. So again, you have 3 options. We recommend the first or the second option to power it. That way you don't have to ever mess with batteries. I personally would recommend the middle option here, using the USB cable and the AC adapter to power it, and then you use your wireless receiver to communicate to the computer. So again, depending on what your power situation is and how you do it, but there are 3 options that you have in order to utilize the Mimio Teach. All right. So now that you're powered, you have your software all set up, you are all educated about the stylus, how to attach this to your board. It really couldn't be simpler yet again. So on the XI bar, there are those plastic clips. So those plastic clips actually click into little grooves that are on the side of the Mimio Teach, all right, or the Mimio XI. And so what you're going to find is that you're going to find some 3M tape strips. I would simply put those on the back of the clips, peel off one of the adhesives, put the clips in place on the top and the bottom. There's 2 of them. Then like the pictures show you here, you're going to get that in place. We always recommend for the Mimio XI that it goes in the upper left quadrant of your board outside of the projected image. So your projector, if this was showing, your projected image would be maybe here. You want to make sure you're outside of that projected image. So get it put in place. Again, the clips are already in place on the bar. You firmly press that against the board, and then you hold that there for about 30 seconds, and then that Mimio XI you can actually pop off, and that will leave the clips in place on your board. So you can remove that if you ever need to for security reasons or over the summer, but the clips will remain in place, so all you have to do is pop it back up there. Now, you will notice that the XI bar, if you look on the back of it, does have suction cups. That is out there for use, but it's not necessarily for a permanent use. That's a temporary use. Keeping in mind suction cups and gravity, those two things sometimes don't work hand in hand. So keep that in mind. It really depends on your situation, but the suction cups method to attach to your board is simply as a temporary solution that you could utilize. So once those are in place, you should be set, and then you are ready to rock and roll. If you have the Mimio Teach, let me clean my board off here a little bit. Again, the Mimio Teach has very powerful rare earth magnets built in to the top and the bottom of the Mimio Teach. So if you have a steel-backed whiteboard, this will simply magnetize itself to your board. So the default location for the Mimio Teach is really the left side middle of the board. Once again, outside of the projected image, but more in the middle of that board, and it's magnetically attached. Now, if for some reason you don't have a steel-backed whiteboard, or you want to attach either of these devices, you can really attach them to any flat surface. As long as you can get them to connect to the surface, you can put them on a wall, you can put them on a window. But for the Mimio Teach, since it is connected via magnets, it does ship with these 4 metal plates. There are some 3M tape strips, so you could put those 3M tape strips. You'd actually put the metal plates on the back before you mount it. You put them in place on the back of the Mimio Teach. You would then put the 3M tape strips on the other one, and then once those are in place and you peeled off the adhesive, you would then press it on the board where you want it, and then when you pull the Mimio Teach off, one set of metal plates will remain there, allowing you to connect that at any time. So even if you don't have a steel-backed board, you can still use these plates here to attach your Mimio Teach to that whiteboard. If your Mimio Teach magnetically attaches to the board, you do not need to use these plates whatsoever. So just something to keep in mind. You have options depending on what your situation is. So once you're attached, just to show you some examples, here's an actual example of where the XI bar would be attached. Again, the XI bar and as well as the Teach, there are sensors that send signals out on the right side of both devices. So there's 3 places that signals get sent out from. So the very top, the very bottom, and in the middle. So for the Mimio XI bar, maybe the left side is not ideal for you. As long as those sensors are pointing towards your projected image, you should be fine. So theoretically, that means I could rotate it and put it at the bottom of my board. As long as those sensors are pointing up, I could also put it on the right side, as long as those sensors are pointing to the right. Or theoretically, you don't see this too often, but it's possible, you could put it at the top of your board as long as those sensors are coming down. But keep in mind, anything that may be blocking the signals that are shooting from the surface may interfere with that. So the default location, that's the ideal spot, is on the left side and near the top. All right. If you have a Mimio Teach, yet again, the default location, like I mentioned earlier, is in the middle left side, outside of the projected image. Again, it also has sensors out here on the left side, or on the right side, I'm sorry, that sends it out and it triangulates the signal to the stylus. If for some reason this situation does not work, it also can be put on the right side, but you would have to flip it upside down. So one thing I'll mention about that is if you did have this AC adapter powered, and you have that AC adapter, that USB cable coming out, when you flip it up, you're going to have that cable coming up out the top, and you'll have to do something with that. So just something to keep in mind. Again, the default location is the left side middle of your board. So with that said, let's talk a little bit more about calibrating. I did mention earlier about how to calibrate this, but let's actually see this in practice. So once again, if you have the XI bar, the bottom button will always be the calibration button. If you have the Mimio Teach, the top button, looks like a little target, will be your calibration button. So as soon as you depress that, you're going to see your screen turn into a white screen, and it basically gives you directions. So basically it's going to say you're going to see a little circle in each corner with an X. And what you want to do what you want to do is, as best as you can, you want to hit the very center of that X with your pen, and it's going to take you all around the corners, around the outside edges, and then finally end up in the middle. And basically what you're telling your device is, this is the area that I'm going to be writing in. So it really is as big as whatever projected image you can show. That's as big as the area that you can write. And as soon as you press that middle button, whatever's on your computer screen is going to be showing up on your computer, on your whiteboard, and then you are able to start interacting with your computer and use it for everything. Your stylus can be used to control your computer. You can obviously run PowerPoints with it. You can use anything on your computer using your Mimio stylus and your device. Now, on the device itself, there are some buttons. So on the XI, you have some buttons on it. One of those I've already mentioned, the calibration button, but the ones right above that also allow you to use some presentation tools, such as a spotlight and reveal tool. And then we have a screen annotation button, which is the second one from the top, and then a Mimio Studio Tools button, the very top one. So again, anytime you see Mimio Studio Tools or press that button, that will open up this toolbar if it accidentally gets closed. So these serve as great shortcuts to a lot of built-in features. Now, if you have the Mimio Teach, it only has the two buttons like I mentioned. So the calibration button we've already talked about. Again, the launch menu, when you press that, it's going to bring up this ribbon of other tools, and that allows you to maybe access your Mimio View. It also allows you to have a shortcut to opening up your toolbar if it gets closed. Text tools, there's the Reveal Spotlight, the Mimio Recorder, Quick Votes, Quick Collaborate, and Screen Annotation. So we talk about all these other applications that are built in some of our other Quick Learn sessions. So, much like the stylus buttons, you can change some of the default features of these buttons also. So once again, we go to Tools and Settings, go down to the third option, which is Interactive, and under Action, depending on which device you have, you can actually come in here and change some of those buttons. So you can modify that to fit your needs at will, and so if you would choose the maybe the launch button, you could change that to maybe open up a gallery. So you have options on those buttons as well. So it depends on which one you have and what your needs are. Otherwise, leaving them as the default works perfectly, which is what I would encourage. So there are the default bar buttons and the options that you can change them. Now, as we start to wrap up here, I will mention that there are two other interactive products that may suit your needs that you may want to look more into. One of those is the Mimio Capture Ink Recorder System, which allows you to use regular dry erase markers fit into the specially designed capture pens and a capture eraser. So this would be ideal if you didn't have a projector, but you wanted to capture dry erase markers digitally. So I would encourage you to check that out. This is a tabletop charger. It works in conjunction with your Mimio Teach. If you want to be wireless in your classroom, you could also check out the MimioPad wireless pen tablet. It is the same as using a Mimio Teach or even a Mimio XI bar, except for you're not tethered to your board to utilize it. So you can use a stylus pen to interact with anything you do on your computer and be out amongst your students, or let your students engage at their seats. So I would encourage you to check out both of these products. We do have two other Quick Learn sessions available for these, so I'm going to throw that link right there in the chat window for you. So if you want to learn more about those, you can definitely check those out to see if those fit your needs. Otherwise, we're going to finish off here with the Studio software. It's the Mimio Studio software that really is the powerhouse between every product that we have. So you can easily create interactive and highly engaging lessons for your students. Very easy to use features. It's very intuitive for teachers. And what's great about this is that one software package utilizes every product that Mimio has, whether it's the Mimio View, the Mimio Vote system, the Mimio Pad. You have one software package to utilize, and it's very, very easy and fundamental to use. So in no time, you'll be able to start developing and creating and maximizing your use of your Mimio products and getting your kids set for that 21st century learning situation. So I encourage you to check more of that out in our Quick Learn sessions. As an extension to this session, if you have a device, go ahead and get that thing connected and powered up. Start small, find ways to start integrating that into what you already do. So use your stylus pen as an interactive mouse. Start getting interactive, and more importantly, get it into the hands of your kiddos to get interactive in your classroom. Make sure you have that Mimio Studio software installed and have the latest version ready to use and start learning from. And then also you can always pick up more tricks and tips in our other Quick Learn sessions that we invite you to attend. We do offer a number of other training options, both on-demand and online. Our number of PDF reference guides and user guides. We have a host of video tutorials that are 3 to 7 minutes in length to get you up and running quickly. Of course, you're engaged right now, hopefully, in one of our Quick Learn recordings, but we also offer Quick Learn available in a live session format where you're learning live from Mimio expert teachers using products in their classroom. So you have the ability to ask questions of the moderator, to ask questions of others in the session, a true value add to check out our live sessions. So definitely check those out, and you can always access our Quick Learn program by reaching out to mimio.com/quicklearn. I'm going to throw that link out here in the chat window out there on the left side of your screen. Of course, I would be remiss not to mention Mimio Connect. It's our free teacher community for teachers. Thousands and thousands of lessons that have been created by teachers, teacher-tested, teacher-designed, most of which are aligned to state and Common Core standards. And we even have a team of specialists that are teachers that you can reach out to at any time to ask any questions through our Ask a Master program. And they get back to you usually within 24 hours. So definitely check that out. It's a large community of loving teachers wanting to help you get the most out of your Mimio products. So there the link is on your left side, mimioconnect.com. Here's a list of all of our products that Mimio offers, so check those out. You can always reach out to your local salesperson or reseller at any time, and they'll be glad to inform you more about the Mimio Classroom products. Finally, we end the session, and I want to say thank you for joining me for this on-demand Quick Learn. I'm going to throw a link out in the chat window there on the left side, which if you would choose to, you can follow that link and you'll have an option to take a quick assessment, and by completing that assessment, you will be available to earn a 1 hour of professional development credits. We'll send you an automatic email upon completing that successfully, and that email will include a link for you to save as well as to print a personalized certificate of completion for joining us in this session. So thank you once again. Be sure to check us out and get interactive with us on all of our social media channels, including Facebook, our YouTube channel, and Twitter. So I hope to see you again soon, and thank you for joining us in this on-demand Quick Learn session.